That was great. Lots of good stuff happening on 3rd Street. All right, Charlie Setterfield. All right. Charlie Setterfield is an architect, professor, husband, and dad. He strives to involve his students in the world through service learning and community engagement. He is passionate about the synergy architecture and education can bring to a community. Mr. Charlie Setterfield.
Thank you. So from the Wright brothers to Charles Kettering to Ermal Frey's, Dayton has been the home of innovation and entrepreneurship for a long time, and our community has benefited from that. Downtown Dayton has benefited from that. You may have noticed a few years ago there was a slight economic downturn, or maybe a bigly economic downturn. And I'm here to tell you that downtown Dayton is on its way back. We have lots of exciting things going on downtown, lots of development. We have new residential, we have new recreation, we have a new library, we have new places to do lots of things like get an education. And so that entrepreneurial spirit is back in downtown Dayton, and I'm here to tell you about that. So since 2010, more than 40,000 square feet of first floor space in downtown Dayton has been leased by entrepreneurs. 56 entrepreneurs have started businesses in first floor spaces in downtown Dayton. The entrepreneurship is back in downtown Dayton. But put yourself in the mindset of an entrepreneur. There are things that you know really well as an entrepreneur. Let's say that your childhood dream was to make doilies, right? And so you know everything there is about doilies, the right yarn, the right patterns, the right pricing, the right marketing, all of that stuff is ingrained in you. But what you might not know is how to get a space that looks really poor, like this, transformed into the world's best doily manufacturing and sales floor, right? So you might be tempted to go ahead and sign a lease for something that looks like this and go in on the weekend with your friends and make some alterations and start working on it and try to open the world's best doily shop, right? Well, the city of Dayton might discover that, and they might come in and say, we really appreciate your entrepreneurial spirit, but you're doing something that's really illegal, and we need you to cease and desist immediately. And so what happens is those entrepreneurs that know everything about making a doily don't know anything about transforming a space into something that's legal and operable and safe for people to be in. And so what happens is the entrepreneurs get really mad when the city says cease and desist, and everybody looks bad, right? The city is being really mean. The entrepreneur is now behind schedule. They're not going to make their deadlines. Maybe they don't even open their doily shop. Their childhood dream is crushed. So what could we do to help with this? Well, a couple of years ago, Scott Murphy from the Downtown Dayton Partnership, I think he left at the break, Scott Murphy from the Downtown Dayton Partnership came to us and said, why don't we pair up some Sinclair student interns with local professional firms that would then go out and do some of the legwork required for entrepreneurs to occupy some of these raw, unfinished spaces in downtown. So that's what we did. We went to DP&L and asked for a regional economic development grant, and they were very generous and gave us $25,000. And so we paired our interns with the architectural group, with Miller Valentine, and with Helmig Linish. They went out to the spaces, they measured them, they created architectural drawings, probably for the first time in several decades for most of these spaces. And they did analysis, they did the code review, and they put together a budget for what it would take to transform that raw, unfinished space into the world's best doily shop, or maybe a restaurant that uses doilies. And at the end, they would present their findings to the owners of the buildings and to the entrepreneurs. And imagine that you're a second-year community college student in Dayton, Ohio, and now you're making a presentation to the owner of a 20-story building in downtown Dayton. How cool is that, right? So with Scott's help, we identified spaces in downtown where this was a viable option, right? And so our students worked in the field. They went out, they did field measurements, they created the drawings, they did the code analysis, and they did the presentations. And it was a very cool thing. Well, then we got to think about what we could do that would help even more. Let me show you one of the presentations first. So this is one of the spaces that they did. This is the former Cold Beer and Cheeseburgers on Jefferson. It's been vacant for several years. It's been gutted by the developer, and it's ready for redevelopment. It's probably available yet today if you call Tony. He'll get you a lease right now. And this is an example of the report that they did. So you can't read a word of it, but trust me, it says lots of really good stuff about that space. The plans are there, the analysis is there, the budget is there for how much it would take to transform that space into either a restaurant or a retail space. But then we said, well, that's really cool, and these 3 students that we've placed at Miller Valentine, the architectural group, and Helma Glenish are having a great experience. And by the way, all 3 of them have been offered a permanent position at their respective firms. So what could we do that would make this a broader opportunity for more Sinclair students? Well, we have hands-on classes where we take people into the construction labs and we have them build something. And then at the end of the semester, we have them tear it down and either recycle the materials or throw it away. Well, what if we could take some of the DP&L grant money and partner that with some of our students in those hands-on classes and give them the opportunity to go into these spaces that need to be developed and white-boxed and have them actually do work in the field that's going to stay there rather than be taken apart at the end of the semester and thrown away or recycled. So that's what we did. So now we have multiple classes out in the field doing work hands-on, learning by doing, and having a great experience. This is a space over at St. Clair Lofts. So one of the problems with these spaces is they tend to be bigger than an entrepreneur needs to start a business. Lots of these are 4,000 to 8,000, maybe 10,000 square feet. They want 1,500 to 2,000 square feet. So part of what we're doing here is actually dividing up the existing spaces so that they're more manageable for a startup business. Some of our folks have had a really great experience. Dylan Wilson in the middle is at Helma Glenish, and he's really able to realize his dream of becoming an engineer and having a great experience. He's got lots of good things to say about it. And finally, I need to thank Scott Murphy from the Downtown Dayton Partnership. He was instrumental in making this happen. And he was also instrumental in creating my slides. I stole most of my images from his presentation, but I was happy to see that he left at the break. So now I don't have to confess to Scott that I stole all of his images. So thank you very much.